The alarm screamed through the command center of Keth Prime Station. Admiral Vextar dropped his cup of bitter coffee and rushed to the main display. His 4 eyes focused on the readings that made no sense at all. "Report," he barked at the sensor technician. Zix, a young draconian with nervous claws, tapped rapidly at her console. "Admiral, we have detected a single vessel moving through Sector 7. But sir, the readings are impossible." Vextar moved closer to the holographic display. The image showed a small dot moving across the star map. Numbers scrolled beside it, showing speed, mass, and energy output. Every number was wrong. "Show me the speed again," Vextar said. 15% of light speed, sir. In normal space. No jump drive signature detected." The Admiral's scales turned pale green. Nothing could move that fast in normal space without being torn apart. The gravity forces alone would crush any known ship design. Even their most advanced battlecruisers could only reach 2% of light speed before their hulls started to crack. "Energy signature?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. The computer cannot match it to any database. It is not fusion, antimatter, or zero-point energy. It is something completely new." Vextar stared at the display. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The unknown ship was heading directly toward the hegemony's core systems. At its current speed, it would reach the capital world in less than 3 days. "Hull composition?" he demanded. Zix's claws clicked nervously. "The scans return no data, sir. The ship appears to absorb or deflect all our sensor beams. We can only detect it because it is moving so fast that it creates disturbances in space around it. Mass readings? No data, sir. The ship could be as small as a fighter or as large as a dreadnought. We simply cannot tell." The Admiral felt cold fear creeping up his spine. The draconian hegemony had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 500 years. They had the most advanced technology, the largest fleet, and the most experienced warriors. Nothing should be able to surprise them like this. "Weapon signatures?" he tried. "None detected, sir. But given that we cannot scan the ship properly, there could be weapons we simply cannot see." Vextar walked around the command center. His officers watched him with worried expressions. They had all heard the old stories, legends of ships that appeared from nowhere and destroyed entire fleets before vanishing again. But those were just stories told to frighten young soldiers. "Send a long-range probe to intercept," he ordered. "I want to know what we are dealing with." "Yes, sir." Zix programmed the probe and launched it. The small device shot through space toward the unknown vessel. Minutes passed. The probe's signal remained strong as it approached the mysterious ship. Then, something strange happened. The probe simply stopped responding. Not destroyed, not damaged, just gone. "What happened to the probe?" Vextar asked. "Unknown, sir. It just vanished from sensors. No explosion, no energy discharge, nothing." The Admiral felt his breathing speed up. This was beyond anything in their military handbooks. An enemy that could move impossible speeds, could not be scanned, and could make their equipment disappear without a trace. "Send another probe. This time, keep it at maximum distance and have it record everything." The second probe launched and took position far from the unknown ship. This time, they got readings. The ship was roughly 200 meters long, shaped like no vessel they had ever seen. It was smooth and dark, with no visible weapons or engines, yet somehow it continued to move at incredible speed. "Sir," Zix said with fear in her voice. "The ship is changing course." Vextar looked at the display. The unknown vessel had altered its path slightly. Now it was heading directly for Keth Prime Station. "Time to arrival?" he asked. "At current speed, 14 hours and 23 minutes. The Admiral knew he had to make a decision. Keth Prime was the most important frontier station in the hegemony. It controlled the trade routes to 12 different star systems. If this unknown ship was hostile, millions of lives could be at risk. "Open a communication channel to Hegemony Command," he ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them we have a situation that requires immediate attention." As the communication specialist began transmitting, Vex-Tar continued to study the mysterious ship. Something about its design bothered him. It looked familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen something like it before. "Admiral," another technician called out, "we are receiving a response from the ship." Everyone in the command center turned to look. The unknown vessel had been silent since it first appeared. Now, it was trying to communicate. "Put it through," Vex-Tar said. A voice filled the command center. It spoke in perfect hegemony standard, but with an accent none of them recognized. "Keth Prime Station, this is the vessel Defiant. We are not hostile. We seek passage to your capital world for diplomatic purposes. Please do not interfere with our mission." The transmission ended. Vex-Tar felt confused and worried at the same time. The voice had sounded almost human. But that was impossible. Humans had been extinct for over 200 years. "Try to respond," he ordered. The communication specialist sent a reply asking for identification and purpose. But the unknown ship remained silent. It continued on its course toward Keth Prime Station, moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Vex-Tar looked at his officers. They all had the same expression of fear and confusion. Something was coming toward them that they did not understand. Something that ignored the laws of physics and claimed to seek diplomatic contact. The admiral made his decision. He would prepare for battle while hoping for peace. But deep in his heart, he knew that whatever was approaching would change everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The unknown ship called Defiant continued its impossible journey through space, carrying secrets that would shake the very foundations of the draconian hegemony. Supreme Chancellor Torgash sat in his massive throne overlooking the capital city of Drakmor. The emergency message from Keth Prime had arrived just minutes ago, and he was still trying to understand what Admiral Vex-Tar was telling him. "A ship moving at 15% light speed," he said to his military advisor, General Kex-Ral. "That is impossible." "Yes, Chancellor. But Admiral Vex-Tar is not known for false reports. His record is perfect over 4 decades of service." Torgash stood up from his throne. His massive frame, nearly 3 meters tall, cast a shadow over the war room. As a member of the draconian royal bloodline, he had been trained for war since birth. He had led campaigns against 6 different species and never lost a battle. But this unknown ship worried him more than any enemy fleet. "Bring me the Council of War," he commanded. Now. Within an hour, the most powerful military leaders in the hegemony had gathered in the secure chamber deep beneath the palace. Admiral Gorthek, commander of the Home Fleet; General Vex-Tar, head of planetary defense; Intelligence Director Rixval, who knew every secret in their part of the galaxy. They all looked worried. "Show them the data," Torgash ordered. The holographic display activated, showing the readings from Keth Prime. The assembled leaders studied the impossible numbers in silence. Speed readings that broke every law of physics they knew. Energy signatures that matched nothing in their databases. "What do we know about this ship's origin?" asked Admiral Gorthek. Intelligence Director Rixval stepped forward. "Nothing, sir. It appeared from empty space in Sector 7. No jump signature. No previous detection. It is as if the ship simply came into existence." "Weapon capabilities?" General Vex-Tar asked. "Unknown. The ship does not respond to our sensors. We cannot determine what weapons it might carry." "And it is heading directly for our capital world?" Torgash asked. "Yes, Chancellor. At current speed, it will arrive in 68 hours. The room fell silent. Every leader present understood what this meant. An unknown ship with impossible technology was approaching their most important world, and they had no way to stop it or even understand what it was. "What are our options?" Torgash asked. General Vex-Tar was the first to speak. "We could deploy the 7th Fleet to intercept. Battlecruiser Dominion's Fist and 12 heavy cruisers. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. And if this ship has defensive capabilities to match its speed?" Admiral Gorthek pointed out. "We could lose our best ships without even scratching their hull." Intelligence Director Rixval cleared his throat. "Chancellor, there is something else." The ship identified itself as Defiant and claimed to seek diplomatic contact. This suggests intelligence and peaceful intentions. Or a trick, General Mextar growled. Many enemies have used false diplomatic overtures to get close to their targets. Torgash walked around the holographic display, studying the mysterious ship from every angle. Something about its design troubled him, but he could not identify what. "Have you compared this design to our historical databases?" he asked. "Yes, Chancellor," Rixval replied. "No matches found in any known ship design from the past 1,000 years." As they debated, another message arrived from Admiral Vextar. The unknown ship had passed Keth Prime Station without stopping or responding to further communications. It maintained its impossible speed and direct course toward the capital. "Sir," Rixval said quietly, "there are reports that news of this ship is spreading through civilian networks. Some are calling it a ghost ship or demon vessel. There are rumors of panic buying and evacuation requests." Torgash felt anger rising in his chest. The draconian hegemony was built on strength and certainty. Their citizens believed their military was invincible. If word spread that an unknown ship was approaching their capital unchallenged, it could cause chaos throughout their empire. "Lock down all communications about this incident," he ordered. "Any civilian who spreads panic will be arrested. Any military officer who leaks information will face court-martial." "Yes, Chancellor," several voices responded, but even as he gave the order, Torgash knew it would not work. Fear had a way of spreading faster than any communication system. By now, millions of people across dozens of worlds would know that something was coming toward their capital. "What about the old archives?" Admiral Gorthek suggested. "The classified files from the expansion wars. Perhaps there are records of similar encounters." Intelligence Director Rixval looked uncomfortable. "Those files are sealed by order of your predecessor, Chancellor. They require special authorization to access. I am giving that authorization," Torgash declared. "Search every database. I want to know if anything like this ship has ever been encountered before." As Rixval hurried away to access the ancient files, Torgash made his decision about the fleet deployment. "General Mex-Tar, deploy the 7th Fleet to the Zirion Nebula. That is the only passage to our core systems. If this ship wants to reach our capital, it must pass through there." "What are their orders, Chancellor?" Torgash paused. If he ordered them to attack, and the mysterious ship destroyed his best fleet, it would be a disaster. But if he let an unknown vessel approach their capital without challenge, it would show weakness to every enemy they had. They are to establish a defensive position and demand identification. If the ship refuses to stop or explain itself, they are authorized to use force. And if their weapons have no effect, then we will know what kind of enemy we face. As the military leaders dispersed to carry out their orders, Torgash remained alone with the holographic display. The small dot representing the unknown ship continued its steady approach through their territory. No deviation, no change in speed, no response to their communications. Something about the situation reminded him of the old stories his grandfather had told him. Tales of the expansion wars, when the hegemony had conquered world after world to build their empire. But those stories also contained warnings about enemies who had fought back in unexpected ways. One memory stood out clearly. His grandfather had once mentioned a species that had refused to surrender, even when their homeworld was under bombardment. They had sworn to return someday and seek justice for what had been done to them. But they were all destroyed, Torgash muttered to himself. Every last one of them. Yet as he watched the impossible ship approach their capital, he could not shake the feeling that something from the past was coming back to haunt them. Something they had thought was safely buried was returning with technology beyond their understanding and purposes they could not guess. The Supreme Chancellor of the most powerful empire in the galaxy found himself afraid of a single small ship, and that fear was growing stronger with each passing hour. Admiral Kelthok stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Dominion's Fist, watching the swirling colors of the Zirion Nebula fill his view screen. Around him, 12 heavy cruisers took their positions in a defensive formation. This was the 7th Fleet, the pride of the Draconian military. "Status report," he commanded. "All ships in position, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum." We are ready for anything, Kelthok nodded. But inside he felt nervous. The reports from command made no sense. A single ship moving at impossible speeds, heading directly for their capital world. His orders were simple: stop the ship and demand identification. Use force if necessary. Long-range sensors show anything? He asked. Negative, Admiral. The nebula interferes with our detection systems. We will not see the unknown ship until it is very close. The waiting was the hardest part. Kelthok had fought in dozens of battles during his career. He had faced enemy fleets 10 times larger than his own, and won through superior tactics and firepower, but he had never faced an enemy he could not understand. Sir, the sensor operator called out suddenly. Contact approaching from Vector 77 Mark IV. Speed is impossible, sir. Still showing 15% light speed. On screen, the view changed to show a small dot moving through space toward their position. As it came closer, they could see it was indeed a ship. But unlike anything in their databases, it was sleek and dark, with no visible weapons or engines. Yet somehow it moved faster than anything they had ever seen. Size estimate? Kelthok asked. Approximately 200 meters in length, Admiral. Much smaller than our cruisers. The Admiral felt surprised. Such a small ship should not be able to achieve those speeds. The energy requirements alone would require a power plant larger than most space stations. Open communications, he ordered. All frequencies. Channel open, sir. Kelthok took a deep breath. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Kelthok of the Draconian 7th Fleet. You are entering restricted space. Identify yourself immediately and state your purpose. No response. The small ship continued its approach without changing speed or course. Try again, Kelthok said. Unknown vessel. You must respond or we will consider you hostile. This is your final warning. Still no answer. The mysterious ship was now less than 1 million kilometers away and closing fast. Admiral, the tactical officer said. At its current speed, the ship will pass through our formation in less than 10 minutes. Kelthok made his decision. All ships, prepare to fire warning shots. Target areas around the unknown vessel, not the ship itself. Yes, Admiral. The 7th Fleet's weapon systems came alive. Plasma cannons that could melt mountains charged to full power. Energy beams that had destroyed entire cities prepared to fire. Fire warning shots, Kelthok commanded. Brilliant streams of plasma erupted from a dozen ships. The energy beams lit up space around the unknown vessel, with enough power to destroy a small moon. Any normal ship would have been vaporized instantly, even by the near misses. But something impossible happened. The plasma beams simply stopped when they reached the area around the mysterious ship. They did not explode or dissipate. They just vanished, as if the space around the vessel absorbed all energy directed at it. What just happened? Kelthok demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Our weapons appear to have no effect. The energy readings show our plasma beams were completely neutralized. For the first time in his career, Admiral Kelthok felt true fear. He commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Yet their weapons had no effect on this small, unknown ship. Then, for the first time, the mysterious vessel responded. A voice filled the bridge, speaking in perfect hegemony standard but with a strange accent. The words were clear and calm, but they sent chills through every Draconian who heard them. Admiral Kelthok of the 7th Fleet. This is Captain Elena Vasquez, of the human expeditionary vessel Defiant. We are not here to fight you. We seek passage to your capital world for diplomatic purposes. We will not be stopped. The bridge fell silent. Human. The word echoed in everyone's mind. Humans had been extinct for over 200 years. The hegemony's expansion fleets had made sure of that. Impossible, whispered the tactical officer. All ships, full combat alert, Kelthok ordered, his training taking over despite his shock. Target the vessel directly. Full power. Admiral, are you sure? Our orders were to avoid destruction if possible. That ship cannot be human. Humans are extinct. This is some kind of trick. The 7th Fleet's weapon systems redirected their fire. This time, they aimed directly at the mysterious ship with enough firepower to destroy a battle station. The plasma beam struck the vessel and simply vanished. Not reflected, not absorbed, just gone. The ship continued its approach without even slowing down. Impossible, Kelthok breathed. Nothing can withstand that level of firepower. The human voice spoke again, this time with what sounded like sadness. Admiral, your weapons cannot harm us. We do not wish to embarrass your fleet, but we will not be stopped. Please stand aside. Never, Kelthok shouted. All ships, ramming speed. If we cannot destroy it, we will stop it with our hulls. The Seventh Fleet moved forward, massive ships weighing millions of tons, accelerating toward the small human vessel. Surely no defensive system could stop that much mass and momentum. What happened next would be talked about in whispers for generations. As the draconian ships approached, the human vessel did something that broke every law of physics they understood. It simply passed through them. One moment, the Dominion's fist was on a collision course with the mysterious ship. The next moment, the human vessel emerged from the rear of the battlecruiser, completely unharmed. It had somehow passed through solid matter, as if it was empty space. Damage report, Kelthok demanded. No damage, Admiral. No energy discharge. No impact. Nothing. It was as if the ship was not there at all. The same thing happened to every ship in the fleet. The human vessel passed through them all like a ghost, leaving them completely unharmed but utterly humiliated. As the Defiant continued on its course toward the capital world, Captain Vasquez's voice filled the bridge one final time. Admiral Kelthok, we bear you no ill will. Your fleet fought bravely, but you are fighting with weapons and tactics from another age. We will contact your Supreme Chancellor directly. We suggest you return to your base and prepare your people for changes that are coming. The communication ended. The human ship disappeared into the nebula, leaving the most powerful fleet in the galaxy floating helplessly in space. Admiral Kelthok stared at the empty space where the impossible ship had been. In less than an hour, everything he thought he knew about warfare and technology had been proven wrong. Humans were supposed to be extinct. But somehow, they had returned with technology that made the hegemony's finest achievements look like primitive tools, and they were heading directly for the capital world with purposes unknown. The Admiral activated his emergency communication system and sent a priority message to Supreme Chancellor Torgash. Sir, the Seventh Fleet has failed to stop the unknown vessel. Repeat, we have failed. The ship is definitely human in origin, and their technology is beyond anything we can counter. They are heading for the capital with no further obstacles. As he sent the message, Kelthok realized that this day would mark the end of everything the draconian hegemony had believed about their place in the galaxy. The humans were back, and they were no longer the weak species that had been destroyed 2 centuries ago. Supreme Chancellor Torgash stood in his private study, surrounded by ancient documents that had not been opened in over 2 centuries. The classified archives from the expansion wars lay spread across his desk, revealing secrets that made his scales turn cold with fear. Intelligence Director Rix Val, he called through his communicator. Come to my study immediately. And bring General Mextar. Within minutes, both officers stood before their leader. They could see the worry in his eyes and the old documents scattered around the room. Chancellor, what have you found? Rix Val asked. Torgash picked up a thick file marked with the highest security seals. The truth about the humans. The truth about what we did to them 200 years ago. He opened the file and began to read from the reports inside. Operation Final Cleansing, commanded by Admiral Draktar. 23 hegemony battle fleets, tasked with the complete destruction of human civilization. Over 40 billion humans killed. Their homeworld of Earth bombarded until the surface turned to glass. General Mextar shifted uncomfortably. That was necessary, Chancellor. The humans refused to surrender. They fought back against every attempt at peaceful conquest. Did they? Torgash asked, pulling out another document. According to these records, the humans offered to negotiate many times. They were willing to accept tributary status in exchange for keeping their independence. But Admiral Draktar had different orders. He found the communication he was looking for and read it aloud. From Supreme Chancellor Vek Goth to Admiral Drokhtar. The human species shows too much potential for technological advancement. They must be completely eliminated before they become a threat to hegemony dominance. No survivors are to be left. The room fell silent. Both officers realized they were learning about a genocide that had been hidden from official history. But sir, Rixval said quietly, all reports confirmed that no humans escaped. Our fleets tracked down every colony ship and refugee vessel. Torgash pulled out the final set of documents. Not all of them. According to these classified reports, at least 7 human ships escaped beyond the galactic rim. Ships carrying perhaps 1 million survivors. Admiral Drokhtar decided not to pursue them because he believed they would die in the empty space between galaxies. 1 million survivors, General Mextar whispered. After 200 years, could have become billions, Torgash finished. And now they are back. Before anyone could respond, an urgent message arrived from the capital's orbital defense center. The human ship had reached the outer system and was heading directly for the homeworld. Put me through to the ship, Torgash ordered. The communication officer's voice filled the room. Chancellor, the human vessel is accepting your transmission. A moment later, a new voice spoke. It was female, calm, and spoke perfect hegemony standard. With that strange accent they had heard before. Supreme Chancellor Torgash, I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the human expeditionary vessel Defiant. We need to talk. Torgash took a deep breath. Captain Vasquez, I welcome you to our system. We believed your people were extinct, as you were meant to believe. My people spent 2 centuries in the dark, between galaxies, rebuilding our civilization, and developing new technologies. We have been watching your empire for the past 50 years, waiting for the right time to return. What do you want from us? Torgash asked. Justice, came the simple reply. Your empire committed genocide against my people. 40 billion innocent humans died because your predecessors saw us as a threat to their power. We want those responsible to face trial for their crimes. General Mextar stepped forward. The leaders responsible are dead, Captain. This happened over 2 centuries ago. We know, Captain Vasquez replied. But their legacy continues. The hegemony still rules through fear and conquest. You have destroyed 7 more species since you wiped out my people. The cycle of violence must end. Torgash felt his hands shaking. What kind of trial are you talking about? What would be the consequences if we refuse? There was a long pause before the human captain responded. Chancellor, you have seen what just one of our scout ships can do. We passed through your best fleet, as if they were not there. We moved at speeds your science says are impossible, and this ship represents technology that we consider outdated by our current standards. How many ships do you have? Intelligence Director Rixval asked. Enough, Captain Vasquez said simply. We have spent 200 years preparing for this day. Every human who survived carries the memory of Earth's destruction. Every child born in exile has been raised with the knowledge of what was done to their ancestors. Torgash realized the true scope of what they were facing, an entire civilization that had spent centuries planning their return, developing technologies beyond imagination, and nursing justified anger at the genocide committed against them. What would this trial involve? He asked. A formal hearing where evidence of war crimes is presented. Testimony from survivors and their descendants. A judgment on whether the current hegemony government bears responsibility for past actions and future reforms. And if we are found guilty, that would depend on whether you are willing to make changes. To end the cycle of conquest and destruction. To give other species the same chance at survival that we barely managed to achieve. General Mextar could not stay quiet any longer. You speak of justice, but you threaten us with superior force. How is that different from what you claim we did? Captain Vasquez's voice turned colder. General, we could have destroyed your fleets and bombarded your worlds without warning, just as you did to us. Instead, we came openly, identified ourselves, and offered to resolve this through dialogue. We are giving you the choice that you never gave my people. Torgash looked at the ancient documents spread across his desk. The evidence of genocide was clear and undeniable. Yet accepting responsibility could mean the end of the hegemony as they knew it. Captain, I need time to consult with our government. This decision affects billions of draconian citizens. You have until we reach orbit around your homeworld, Captain Vasquez replied. Based on our current speed, that gives you approximately 6 hours. And if we refuse your demands? The silence that followed was more frightening than any threat could have been. Chancellor, Captain Vasquez finally said, we sincerely hope you will not force us to demonstrate the consequences of that choice. The communication ended, leaving 3 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy staring at each other in fear. What do we do? General Mextar asked. Torgash looked out the window toward the space where a single human ship was approaching their world. A ship that represented the return of a species they had tried to destroy completely. We face the truth, he said quietly. And we pray that justice and mercy are not mutually exclusive. The countdown to the most important decision in hegemony history had begun. The human expeditionary vessel Defiant moved into orbit around Drakmor, the capital world of the draconian hegemony. Its small form cast no shadow on the planet below, yet its presence had already changed everything. Supreme Chancellor Torgash stood in the council chamber, surrounded by hundreds of hegemony leaders who had gathered for an emergency session. Representatives from 12 species filled the massive hall, all demanding to know what was happening. Order! Torgash called out. But his voice was drowned by angry shouts and fearful questions. Senator Vixera of the Serpentine Coalition stood up. Chancellor, our entire defense network has been compromised by a single small ship. What are you going to do about it? The markets have crashed, shouted Trade Minister Gokran. People are fleeing our core worlds. This situation must be resolved immediately. Torgash raised his hands for silence. When the chamber finally quieted, he began to speak. Distinguished representatives, we face a situation that none of us expected. The ship in orbit above us belongs to the human species, which we believed to be extinct for over 2 centuries. Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Many of the younger representatives had never heard of humans except in ancient historical records. Impossible, General Hector declared. My grandfather served in the final cleansing operation. No humans survived. Some did, Torgash replied quietly. And they have spent 200 years preparing for their return. He activated the chamber's holographic display, showing the sleek form of the Defiant orbiting their world. This vessel possesses technology beyond our understanding. It moves at speeds that should tear any ship apart. It passed through our 7th Fleet as if they were empty space. Our weapons cannot touch it. The chamber erupted in chaos again. Representatives shouted questions, demands, and threats. Some called for immediate military action. Others suggested surrender. Through the noise, a new voice cut through with crystal clarity. Captain Elena Vasquez's words filled the chamber through the communication system. Representatives of the hegemony, I am Captain Elena Vasquez. I have a proposal for all of you. The chamber fell silent instantly. Every being present was hearing the voice of someone from a species they thought was dead. Your Supreme Chancellor now knows the truth about what happened to my people. We have shared the classified records of our genocide with him. 40 billion humans died because your empire saw us as a threat to their dominance. Representative Klixnar of the Crystalline World stood up. If this is true, why should we trust you not to seek revenge? Because revenge is not justice, Captain Vasquez replied. We could have destroyed your fleets and bombarded your worlds as you did to us. We chose differently. What do you want? Trade Minister Gokran demanded. We want the cycle of conquest and destruction to end. We want a galaxy where different species can coexist, without fear of being wiped out for their potential. Senator Vixara hissed angrily. You speak of peace while threatening us with superior weapons. We demonstrate strength to prevent the need for violence, the human captain explained. Your empire respects only force. We show you force to earn your respect for our words. Torgash stepped forward. Captain, Tell them about your terms. Captain Vasquez's voice remained calm and professional. We propose the establishment of an interspecies tribunal to examine past crimes and prevent future ones. The hegemony would accept external oversight of its expansion policies. Conquered species would be given the option of independence or genuine self-governance. Unacceptable, General Hector roared. The hegemony bows to no one. Then you will fall as the hegemony has existed. Captain Vasquez replied simply, but we hope you will choose evolution over extinction. Young Representative Zeklara from the outer colonies stood up. Captain, what guarantee do we have that your people will not simply become the new conquerors? An excellent question, the human responded. We will submit to the same oversight we propose for others. Our own actions will be subject to review by the tribunal. Torgash looked around the chamber. He could see fear, anger, and confusion on every face. But he also saw something else. The first stirrings of hope in the eyes of representatives from species that had been conquered by the hegemony. There is something else you should know, Torgash announced. The Defiant is not alone. He activated another display showing long-range sensor readings. Dozens of contacts appeared at the edge of the star system, each moving at the same impossible speeds. A human fleet has taken positions throughout our territory, he continued. Not attacking, not threatening, but watching. They could have struck without warning, but instead they chose to negotiate. The chamber fell completely silent. Every representative understood that they were no longer the dominant power in the galaxy. Captain Vasquez spoke again. This is not about conquest. This is about justice and change. We offer you the choice that we were never given. Adapt or face the consequences. Representative Morgek from the industrial worlds asked, what would happen to our way of life? Your species would remain free to govern themselves as they choose, the human captain replied. But you would no longer be free to subjugate others. Torgash made his decision. He had studied the evidence, considered the alternatives, and realized there was only one path forward. I accept your proposal, he announced. The chamber exploded with angry shouts. Some representatives demanded his removal from office. Others called for military action against the human fleet. Silence, Torgash roared, using his full authority as Supreme Chancellor. I have seen the evidence of our past crimes. I will not repeat the mistakes of my predecessors. General Hector stood up angrily. You would surrender our empire to aliens? I would transform it into something worthy of survival, Torgash replied. The old ways of conquest and domination have brought us to this moment. If we continue on that path, we will be destroyed, as surely as we destroyed the humans' homeworld. Captain Vasquez's voice filled the chamber one final time. Chancellor Torgash, your courage honors both our species. The tribunal will convene within 1 year. Until then, all aggressive military operations will cease. Agreed, Torgash replied. As the human transmission ended, the Supreme Chancellor looked out at the representatives who would now have to help build a new kind of galaxy. Some were angry, some were frightened, but others were beginning to see possibilities they had never imagined. The age of the draconian hegemony as a conquering empire was over. But perhaps something better could take its place. Above their world, the Defiant continued its silent orbit, a reminder that humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as agents of change. They had turned their suffering into strength, their exile into evolution, and their loss into the determination to ensure no other species would face the same fate. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted forever. And for the first time in centuries, there was hope that justice might be stronger than fear.